The Rams make a shocking signing, and not too many fans are happy about the re-signing of this player. Also, we're going to discuss a little bit about what Snead should do in the draft. Should we trade back in the draft this year? We'll talk about that and much more on today's episode of the Rams Digest. I'm your host, Joshua Giron. Remember, if you guys are not subscribed to the channel, do me a favor. Press that subscribe button now, as roughly 72.9% of you guys are watching the videos, but you're still not subscribed to the channel. So do me the favor, press that subscribe button so you don't miss any daily Rams content here at the Rams Digest. First things first, I want to get into this first news here, as we were talking about fans being really disappointed with the re-signing of a particular player. Now, I do want to emphasize, I always hate kind of this rhetoric, generally speaking, because when we're talking about a player, this is their life, this is their livelihood, this is their career, right? And so I don't really want this player, their family, to kind of see tweets or stories or YouTube videos like this and kind of say, oh, you know what, people don't want me here, right? Don't want our family member here, or whatever it is. But the Rams have re-signed and agreed to terms on a one-year deal with linebacker Troy Reeder. Now, there are some positives here. I do want to emphasize that he's a linebacker, right? The Rams need linebackers. And so he is a player who is familiar with the defense. He can come in and be a decent person in the room, right? In a good guy in the locker room. Now, most times when people say that, it doesn't always mean the best for that player on the field, what they bring on the field, right? But ultimately, let's be real. Let's be honest, right? Troy Reeder being in the locker room is not a bad thing necessarily. It's not that he's, the worst player ever, making you lose all these games, but many fans are disappointed with his production. And so overall, I'll say this. Look, he's a player who's going to bring in that veteran leadership, who's going to be a good voice in the locker room, also can help the young players kind of develop and grow and see the game the way, this defense wants to be run, the way the coaches want this defense to be run. When we're talking about Chris Shula and everybody involved. And so overall, I think there is a little bit of positive in that sense, but I get it. Rams fans are disappointed they were bringing back a player that they just don't really like, right? Not many Rams fans are fans of Troy Reeder, and you can tell here, as we see on X, here are some tweets. I don't know what you guys call them, but I call them tweets. Deacon says, if I catch Troy Reeder in the streets, I'm catching a charge. I don't like that one, but okay. Blaine says, for the record, I still don't think the Rams signing Nate Landman or Troy Reeder takes him out of the running for drafting a linebacker. Someone responded to that saying, considering Reeder is a net negative, I'd hope not. Well, that was before he signed, and he ended up signing the same day. And then someone tweeted, this is a funny one here from Juice, I need a therapist. And then he quote tweeted it saying, I was feeling better than Troy Reeder got signed. And again, I don't really want to poke too much fun at Troy Reeder. I just want to emphasize and say, look, I'm not saying this, but this is what Rams fans are feeling. Many Rams fans, and I'm not saying Twitter, I have this weird opinion about Twitter or in general social media where I say, like, if you see 5,000 people saying the world is on fire, it's going to feel like the world is on fire, but it's also just 5,000 opinions, right? And so not every Rams fan feels this way, I'm sure, about Troy Reeder, but it is a little bit confusing, right? The Rams need a linebacker. We've been saying they need a linebacker. They should draft a linebacker, maybe two. That's how small, uncertain we are about what the linebacker position is bringing to the table right now. But ultimately, the Rams are deciding to not do that, right? They're bringing a guy, Nate Landman, from Atlanta. I said he could be a sleeper pick, but mostly going to be a special teamer, kind of maybe occasionally make some big plays for you. But the Rams need a linebacker, and they have not been doing that, not been bringing one in. They bring back a Troy Reeder, ultimately interesting, but not really anything that I'm, going to write home about. Nothing that I think many Rams fans are super duper excited about. But that is where it's at right now for the Rams. And, ultimately, again, I don't want to talk too much smack about Troy Reeder. He's on the roster. He's on the Rams. I'm a root for him to succeed when he's on the field. And I'm hoping that the Rams can still look into drafting a linebacker in the draft this year. Moving on from that, we're going to talk about trading back in the draft. Should the Rams do that? Is this something they should look into? I think that this may be one of the best moves for the Rams this offseason. And ultimately, it's just because I think the Rams are in a position where they're in a 26th pick in the draft. They have quite a bit of draft picks, quite a bit of draft capital, but not very much valuable draft capital. I think that's really important, I think, right? The Rams don't have a second-round pick right now as we are discussing this. So ultimately, I think that's kind of where it sits, right? Trading back remains the best options for the Rams at 26. What does a trade package look like? This comes to us from Blaine Grisak. And obviously, this is a very intriguing thing that I think the Rams should look into. And ultimately, it's because, again, the Rams are in a position where at 26 pick in the draft, you're end of the first round, you're probably drafting a guy that's not really graded as a first-round talent. And the Rams don't have a second-round pick. So when you pick at 26, and your next pick isn't for another 64 picks, I'm doing my math correctly, right, to the 90th pick in the draft, it's going to be quite a bit of time before you guys get an opportunity to take a chance on a different player. And so that's where I think the Rams can see value in trading back, hopefully getting that second round range to, draft multiple players. Again, I talked about this like dart throws or just like shots in a basketball game, right? If I shoot 20 shots, if I shoot 10 shots in a game, the odds are I could probably make 5, 6, 7 of them, right? Or at least 2 or 3. If I only get 3, 4 shots in a game, obviously it's not really going to be ideal, right? So the more chances we get on these players, the better your odds are of hitting on some of these draft picks. And so that's why I think the Rams should really heavily consider looking into trading back. And Les Snead is not afraid to do this, right? He's done this before in the past. General Manager Les Snead has shown in the past that he isn't afraid to trade picks and to get to meet the meat of the draft on draft night. Snead has made 32 trades on draft night during his tenure, moving up 11 times, but moving down, which is what we're asking the Rams to do, moving down 21 times. Back in 2017, the Rams traded down from 37 to 44, takes out in Gerald Everett, picked up the 91st pick in the draft, selected John Johnson III, pretty solid player for the Rams, both Gerald Everett and John Johnson. They also traded up that same draft to take Samson and Bukum. This front office has shown that it isn't afraid to move around during the draft, and for the general consensus of this draft is that there isn't a lot of value at the end of the first round for a team like the Rams sitting at the 26th pick. That makes trading back all the more attractive, especially if some of their top potential targets are unavailable. It's very possible players like Colson Loveland, Malachi Starks, Jahdae Barron, and others are all off the board for the Rams at 26. And so that's kind of where I think the Rams should really heavily consider trading back. Now, I did go ahead into some mock drafts, and I did want to show you guys what that may look like, right? When we're talking about the Rams potentially trading back in the draft. Here is them not trading back. This is what the first 3 picks looked like. And so I was able to take Trey Amos, an interesting cornerback out of Mississippi. Again, not a lock to be a star player or anything. On PFF's draft board, he is the 32nd ranked player in the draft. Rams have a need at corner. Why not see what they can do with Trey Amos? And then we have them taking a safety, not really the most ideal scenario, but a guy who was ranked 62nd player on PFF's board. Someone I just figured, hey, good player, looks like a guy who can be solid in coverage. Andrew Mukuba, sorry, I'm pronouncing his name wrong, out of Texas. And then we had Harold Fanning Jr., one of my favorite players, actually, just because statistically he blows people out the water with his stats, out of Bowling Green. Harold Fanning Jr. at the 101st pick in the 3rd round. Very intriguing player who can possibly be a bust for sure because he's coming from a small school, but also an intriguing player because he could also be a monster, right? And so that's kind of where I'm at. I don't even know if I have the draft here, but it's fine. In terms of drafting, right, we're just sitting at where the Rams are right now. That's kind of what a draft could look like, right? But if you trade back, I think that's kind of where things can get a little more interesting, right? You now have 4 picks in the top 101 or so picks, right? And so you're looking at the Rams trading back here in this scenario. They go ahead, trade back to the end of the first round, take Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State, very intriguing receiver prospect, could be your new slot receiver for the Rams. And then Darian Porter, the cornerback out of Ohio State, kind of a boomer bust pick. But hey, again, don't think about the names we're taking here. We're just looking at the positions, right? You draft a corner in the 2nd round, you would hope that player can start sooner rather than later. Take Harold Fanning, again, one of my favorite players, like I said, in the 3rd round, 90th pick in the draft, tight end out of Bowling Green, see what you can do learning behind a guy like Tyler Higbee. And then you get a defensive tackle, Omar Norman Lott. This scenario, you bring in a receiver, a cornerback, and a tight end. Again, you get more dart throws, you get more shots at the rim, you just get more opportunities to potentially hit on some of these guys. Don't forget about the names if you don't like any of these guys. I'm just picking guys and showing, hey, we get a lot more opportunity to fill some holes that the Rams need to fill, right? I think I have another mock draft in here somewhere. I guess I do not, because I'm just spoiling the rest of the video for you guys. But overall, I thought I had another one. But if not, either way, that's an intriguing route the Rams can take. You're filling some needs. Again, you're taking players that can potentially fill holes for you in this next upcoming season. I think that's where the Rams would benefit the most from trading back in the draft. You just get more opportunities to draft guys and see if you can hit on some talent overall in the draft. Of course, I think coming draft night too, the Rams should kind of wait and see what's at their pick in the 26th pick. If it's no one they like, then maybe you can trade back in that scenario and try to get some more pieces moving forward. Moving on from that, my favorite part of the episode, trivia of the day. I give you guys a trivia question. You guys play along at home in the comments. If you guys are right, if you guys are wrong, either way, I give you a shout out on the next episode. Here was the trivia of the day question. Last episode, What season brought the first AFC and NFC games, NFC wildcard playoff games? Which season brought those? That was an intriguing question from last episode. We had a few people play along. Here were the guesses right here. Shout out to everyone who played along. Again, I appreciate all of you guys for playing along every single time you guys play. The Real J Will says, I'm going to say 1994. By the way, the multiple choice options were 1990, 1978, 1986, or 1994. The Real J Will says, I'm going to say 1994. Lock it in. El Stradamus says 1994. Floyd says 1970. And Thomas says 1978. The correct answer for the trivia of the day last episode. Again, what season brought the AFC and NFC wildcard game playoff games, the first ones? The answer was 1978. So shout out to Thomas for getting that correct. I appreciate all of you guys for guessing and playing along. I appreciate the diversity in the guesses, by the way, as well. Shout out to all of you guys for playing along, whether you're right, whether you're wrong, but shout out to Thomas for getting this one correct. The first wildcard games for the AFC and NFC were played and starting in 1978. Some interesting trivia right there for the history of the game for you all. And then last but not least, trivia of the day for today's episode. What team owner is credited with coming up with the phrase Super Bowl in 1967? Here are some multiple choice options for you guys. Was it A, George Halas? Was it B, Art Model? Was it C, Lamar Hunt? Or was it D, Al Davis? I know the answer. I'm reading it right now. But what team owner is credited with coming up with the phrase Super Bowl in 1967? Was it A, George Halas? Was it B, Art Model? Or was it C, Lamar Hunt? Or D, Al Davis? Give your guesses down below in the comment section. Again, whether you're right, whether you're wrong, I'll give you a shout out on the next episode. Other than that, that's going to do it for me on today's episode of the Rams Digest. Subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. That's going to do it for me. I'm your host, Joshua Giron, and I'm out.